So tolerance is the amount of variation permitted for a given dimension. The tolerance is the difference between the maximum limit of a dimension and the minimum limit of a dimension. So if I was to consider the tolerance for this 1-inch dimension right here, I would be considering how much is this dimension, how much is this size right here allowed to vary. The same thing with this 1 1/4. If I was to consider the tolerance of this dimension, I would be considering how much is this value allowed to vary from its nominal value. We would call these the nominal values, or the basic dimensions, the dimensions that we specify in our design. But we'll get more to that in the next video. Let's just look at tolerance for right now. So let's say that these two dimensions right here, these two dimensions represent the maximum limit. Okay? This 1 inch is going to represent the maximum limit of this size right here. And this 1.25 is going to represent the maximum limit of this size right here. And now let's say we want to allow a minimum for both of these dimensions. The minimum for the 1 is 0.89 right here, and the minimum for the 1.25 is 1.18 right here. Let me reiterate with a note. These two dimensions are the minimum limit. These are the maximums. These are the minimums. And what that would look like, what that variation would look like would be this size right here would be allowed to be this much smaller up to the minimum limit. And this feature right here would be allowed to be this much larger since we're taking away material because of this minimum limit right here. This edge or this edge can lie anywhere between this region or this range. It can lie anywhere in between this region or range. So how would we compute the tolerance? Well, we would take the maximum minus the minimum to get the tolerance value. So for this first set of dimensions right here, we would have 1 minus 0.89 equals 0.11, or 110 thousandths. We could also call this 11 hundredths. So that would be the tolerance for this size right here. And then for the bottom dimension, our tolerance would be 1.25, or 1 and 250 thousandths, minus 1.18, or 1 and 180 thousandths. That's going to be equal to 70 thousandths, or 7 hundredths, or 0.07, however you want to say it. This is the tolerance value. So now let's look at another example. Say I have this shaft here. I'm looking at this front view of the shaft, and it's allowed to vary between 2.5 and 2.69. What would the tolerance be? Well, the tolerance would be the maximum limit minus the minimum limit. So the maximum limit is 2.69 and the minimum limit is 2.50. That's going to equal 0.19. So the tolerance for this value is 0.19.